There are nights that stay with you forever. Not because they're important, not because they're meaningful, but because no matter how many years pass, you still can't explain what happened. This story took place about 4 years ago. At the time, I was dating a guy named Ryan. His family owned a massive property several miles outside the nearest town. The house sat alone in the middle of open fields and dense woods. During the day, it was beautiful. At night, it felt abandoned by the rest of the world. One weekend, Ryan's parents left town for a business trip, leaving us alone in the house. Neither of us thought much of it. We ordered food, played card games, watched movies, and enjoyed having the place to ourselves. By midnight, we were stretched out on opposite ends of the couch with a movie playing in the background. At some point, we both fell asleep. Then everything changed. A deafening blast ripped through the house. I shot upright instantly. The sound was unlike anything I'd ever heard. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't a vehicle. It wasn't an alarm. The closest comparison I can make is a ship horn, but much deeper and impossibly louder. The windows rattled. The floor vibrated. Even the picture frames hanging on the walls trembled. The noise lasted only a few seconds before cutting off abruptly. Silence followed. Ryan looked at me. I looked at him. Neither of us spoke. We simply sat there trying to process what had happened. "Did that come from outside?" I finally asked. "I think so." We walked to the large living room window overlooking the back field. Nothing. No lights. No vehicles. No movement. Just darkness. For several minutes we searched for a logical explanation. Neither of us found one. Then a flash illuminated the entire property. For a split second, the backyard looked as bright as daytime. The light vanished just as quickly as it appeared. We rushed back to the window. Again, there was nothing. No storm clouds. No lightning. No source. Ryan decided to shut off every light inside the house so we could see better. The darkness immediately made me uncomfortable. The house felt different. Empty. Watching. We moved between windows, scanning the property from different angles. That's when the backyard floodlight suddenly switched on by itself. Ryan froze. The light was motion activated. Normally it only triggered when something large crossed the sensor, but there was nothing visible beneath it. No person. No animal. Nothing. For several seconds we simply stared. Then we heard voices. At least, I think they were voices. The sounds drifted through the night air like distant whispers. The strange part was that neither of us could identify a single word. It sounded like several people speaking at once in a language neither of us recognized. My stomach dropped. Someone was out there. Or something. Before either of us could react, movement appeared outside a side window. Two dark shapes crossed past the glass. Human-sized. But their movements weren't normal. They swayed unnaturally, almost gliding instead of walking. "Call the police," I whispered. Ryan grabbed his phone. No signal. Not one bar. He checked the Wi-Fi. Disconnected. I pulled out my phone. Same thing. The timing made no sense. As we stood there, one of the shadows approached the side entrance. A metallic rattle echoed through the kitchen. Someone was testing the door handle. I knew Ryan had locked it earlier. The handle shook again, and again. Panic took over. I screamed. The rattling stopped instantly. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then the whispering returned. Closer this time. Much closer. Ryan shouted that he was armed and that the police were already on their way. It was a complete bluff, but maybe it would scare whoever was outside. For several tense seconds, nothing happened. Then the blast returned. The same earth-shaking sound exploded through the property. I covered my ears. The house vibrated. The windows trembled. The noise felt less like sound and more like pressure, crushing down from every direction. When it finally ended, we looked toward the door. The shadows were gone. Completely gone. At that exact moment, our phones came back to life. Notifications flooded the screens. Signal restored. Then something happened that I still struggle to explain. Both the front door and side door burst open simultaneously. Locked doors, opening on their own. Not slowly, not naturally. They flew open as if someone had kicked them from the outside. I expected figures to rush inside. Nothing did. The doorways remained empty. Ryan slammed both doors shut while I called emergency services. Officers eventually arrived and searched the property. They found no footprints, no tire tracks, no signs of trespassing. Nothing. The muddy ground surrounding the house should have preserved evidence. Instead, it looked untouched. The officers suggested we may have misinterpreted what we'd seen. Maybe. But they couldn't explain the sound. They couldn't explain the lights. And they certainly couldn't explain the doors. The rest of the night passed without incident. Nothing else appeared. Nothing else made a sound. By sunrise, everything felt normal again. Almost. Years have passed since that night. I've considered every explanation imaginable. Trespassers, electrical issues, weather phenomena, pranks. Yet no theory accounts for everything. The sound, the lights, the missing signal, the shadows, the doors. Maybe there is a perfectly rational answer. If there is, I haven't found it. And part of me isn't sure I ever want to.